75% on Apple.
You go, David. Is there any reason to get out of that trade? I don't see any reason yet. Do you? I sure don't.
No, sir.
How about that coach's 2-minute EWO strategies? Does it work or not, David?
I would say so.
The video actually mentions David, whose voice you just now heard. The video, I believe, said 350,000 since you started instituting this strategy, and you might want to add another 100K to that because that's where he's at now. Is that correct? I'm not exaggerating. I think I've heard you say before where you were at, but
Officially over 450. I need to do the math this week, but I know for sure over 450.
and that's just by employing a simple strategy and testing the strategy, and he proved it to himself that it works over and over and over. That's what he's been doing, living, breathing Apple 2-minute EWO.
And 2.5 years ago, I would spend all day in the room making $1 or $2 per trade. Sometimes I get a runner of like $6 or $7, and then I'd have a loser of 1 or 2. But it was just constant over and over. It builds up your trust in what you're seeing because now you know the mechanics, you know how to get in and out. You've already shown that you have the patience to wait, and it works.
So what you're saying is you didn't come in with $50,000 in account and just start throwing it at Apple? Did you have a big account, David, when you started, like 50,000, and just start trading Apple? Is that how you made all that
No.
money over the last 2 years?
Nope. What a lot of people don't know is I had a margin account in Robinhood. Didn't trash it, but didn't want to take the risk of losing that. So I left that account alone and I moved in $1,500 into Webull to kind of replicate what Coach was doing with the screen with Webull. I liked the mechanics a lot better than Robinhood for the type of trading that we do in the group. So that all started with $1,500. And of course, even though I moved in the $1,500, I still took it down to about 1,200 maybe before I kind of started really buckling down and paying attention to everything I was supposed to be doing. So it was a long, hard road.
Yeah, so folks don't come in here with a lot of money because you don't need that to be successful. David's a
Hey,
living proof
David.
of it. So be successful. If you cannot trade little trades and be successful making $1 or $2 or $5 or $10 here and there with a little bit of money, you will not be successful throwing a lot of money at it. Takes pennies to make dollars, dollars to make bigger bills. Be patient. Your account will grow day by day.
Question for David. David, do you ever trade anything else?
No, in the past probably year and a half, I think I've traded 2 hot stock picks, but it was basically they were in the same exact criteria for entry that I look for on Apple every day. And I was like, they're small enough and I can buy a whole bunch of them. And so I was working on some trading in the afternoon because I typically only trade in the morning. And then I force myself out of the room so that I don't overtrade.
Is Apple that consistent? Like you see entries there daily?
Yeah, so in the Apple chat, I post everything every single day, every single trade I take. And of course, there's sometimes where I take losers, but I maintain my losers by having stop losses in place that I'm comfortable with. And with the track record that I've seen, not only in the back testing, the amount of back testing that I've done, but the live testing that I've done for myself in the past 2.5 years, I trust what I've seen in the past. And I know that we're technically playing a game of numbers. So if I've seen a moment in time that creates money, I'm going to take that every single time because I know that there's more likelihood that I have a chance to collect some money on the way up or down.
Thanks, man.
Not to distract you, David, because Apple's continuing to climb, and I don't want to cost you money by distracting you. But on YouTube Live, you can wait to answer this if you like. Till Destiny Do Us Part over on our YouTube Live tab says, David, what did you trade when you were trading with a very small account?
I share a list of small stocks, and it's an accumulation of just smaller stocks that are known. It's a mix of smaller stocks that were what we called the Jimmy stocks for the longest time, but they eventually transitioned into what everybody knows as the hot stock picks now. And so I had a list of about 60 something, 70 something that I would just keep an eye on, but each day I would pick a handful of, say, 5 that were in the same price range. And that way I knew what ranges I was up against, how much potential money I could make, or what kind of ranges as far as I needed for stop losses. Instead of jumping from a $5 stock to a $100 stock where my stop losses need to be completely different, my turbo trader needs to be set up completely different. If I stay in a group of stocks, I can build consistency a lot faster.
So you became familiar with them, how they lived and breathed and moved, right, on a daily
Yep.
basis.
And I have a that list, and I share it in the the Apple chat. I share it in the Saturday classes. So that is one of the benefits. And so Saturday classes are another thing. If you can't be in here with us all day, well, VIP Gold, you get everything recorded. Plus, you have Saturday classes. So those Saturday classes are the time where people can reach out and say, hey, you know what? I don't get to interact when I'm at work because I've only got one earbud in and I've got a damn boss in the background that'll grill my ass. So you can say, hey, you know what? This is a payment in my future. Can I try it for a month and see how it goes? Yeah, that's definitely something possible. And there's so many resources in there that a lot of people are not taking advantage of. So that's why I try to point it out. Everything is recorded. You can go back and spend a whole weekend just concentrating on topics. And that's what I was doing myself. I was in the group very early on with Coach, and there wasn't a lot of video resources. We were actually making those videos in the beginning of the group. And so I would replay the videos just to kind of hear Coach's words and, hey, you know what? Here's a golden, this trade looks golden. He used to say that a lot. And so I would look at the time and I would look at the chart and what did he see? Why the hell did he say that this looked good? A lot of times I couldn't ask him in the lives because he was, of course, doing live trading and I didn't feel like interrupting. And back then I didn't speak as much, but I could jot down the time and, oh, the coach said that this one looked awesome. So I go back and look at the charts at night and, oh, you know what? This time he said it. Okay, then I look at the next time he said it. And these two charts look almost identical. What the hell happened at that same exact time? Once you start piecing those moments together, you can start looking when they're being created and look back in history and you'll see that those same moments he's discovered that he's pointed out to you live were very good moments in other stocks in the past. And you could have caught those same exact moments if you were sitting there waiting for that moment to happen instead of chasing somebody else call out.
Over on our YouTube live, Burton asked a question. How much time do you actually spend in a day with trades and monitoring, especially when you're starting out?
So in the beginning, I was lucky enough to have broken my foot. And so I had the luxury of time. And so I was able to sit in the room all day long and just watch a few stocks. So I know not a lot of people have that luxury, but if you can do those replay features and identify the better trade, then you can see them when they're happening live. And you walk into the room and you look at the chart and you say, oh, it looks like trash. I don't need to touch it. That's a discipline you work on. If you walk into the room and the chart looks like, oh, you know what? If I give it a couple of minutes, it might meet my criteria. Then you sit down and you wait for the trade to happen. Don't force trade. So one of the biggest disciplines as a trader is being able to wait for right moments. Coach talks about the A+ setups. So there's hundreds, thousands of ways to trade. But what the thing you need to do is concentrate on a particular one or two styles that you want to work out and then try to replicate those trades to figure out what type of trader you are. Not everybody's going to be a scalper. Not everybody's going to be a 2-minute EWO player. So if you have a lot of time on your hands, you can work on different styles of trade and figure out which one it is. If you're a worker where you're out there at work all day and you only have sporadic times to look at it, I wouldn't even be looking for trading. I would be doing replay features in the evening where you can have the time to spend and watch it, identify those moments, and then that way you're trained. By the time you really go into real trading, you're the one just looking for those moments and you can pop in whenever you want. You don't have to, oh, did I miss this and did I miss that? No, I'm waiting for this to happen. If it doesn't look like it's going to happen, I can walk away, wait for the next day. I don't need to be forcing trades.
Thank you.
Yep.
Where can you go and talk to successful people like this and ask questions and get them answered?
I spend time in here all the time. I'm still in here every day possible, even when I'm on vacation. My wife's kind of nudging me like, we've got stuff going on. And I'm like, well, I want to be in here. I feel like I'm missing the group because there are people very successful in this group. You don't very often get to sit in a room and discuss topics with millionaires and people that are very, very successful in all different walks of life. We're in a trading group, but the part of the group that I like is there's so many different people in the group that are knowledgeable in all different sectors. I'm still in this group to this day because I catch things every weekend. We had a Saturday class the other day where another gentleman noticed something that now I'm digging into. And it's like, okay, well, I want to see exactly how this correlates because it sort of made sense to me. But I want to go back and start looking at it. And so if it's going to be beneficial, then we can start digging into it more. But I want to make sure that anything that is of benefit to the group, we're going to try to at least acknowledge it and incorporate it if we can. So Coach is very open. 2 years ago, he didn't talk about the EMAs. It took months and months of taking trades, performing trades, seeing how trades looked differently with the EMAs. And he understood that even though he's a wizard and can interpret levels and candles and channels and everything, he knows that there's people in the group that are not at his level. And so he was understanding to that fact and says, you know what, it is beneficial for beginners because it's a great visual tool. So he understands that if we are using the tools properly, they don't overcloud the screen. You don't get that technical paralysis. If you're using it correctly, it's beneficial for you. So you don't want to just cloud the screen. So that's why he says, come in with a clean cup and then kind of start working and implementing one thing at a time.
Not to interrupt you, David, but Apple may be getting a little heavy on the vine there. Don't want you to miss out on taking action
Oh, yeah.
if
Well,
you need to,
I
sir.
just took one off the table and I've got 2 left. And so with the 2 left that I have, we're at about 77%. And with just those 2 contracts, its open P&L is about almost $400.
There we go. See, now I'm trying to go back up there. Kind of a little bit of a pullback, right? This is where your education and training that David's talking about comes from, is, not freaking out just because you see a red candle all of a sudden, right? You have to evaluate the big picture, what's going on, trust your levels, trust your indicators, trust your training and experience. While David's here, you've got a few seconds here. If you want to ask David a question in the chat there, I'll relate to him. You got something real quick you want to ask him? He has to concentrate on his active trades also. Type it in your chat box. I'll pass that question on to him.
We asked David, what's the new Apple product?
I'm not a news trader. I don't pay attention to anything other than the charts at that moment. If there's a big news event that's taking place throughout the day, then I am a little bit more cautious, like the FMO speakers or whatever the hell they call them. If there's a news conference during the day, but other than that, I'm reacting to what's on the screen. So I watch out for, what is it called, the shift change because of the potential volume. I look out for news events and speakers during the day, but other than that, I don't pay attention to none of that. And I'm not an earnings trader, so I don't worry about that. It doesn't matter what happened for earnings the day before because I'm just relying on what's happening in front of me.
Ken, you have your hand up. Question or comment?
Yeah, David, I presume you started off with stocks. How long was it after you started with stocks that you started going into options?
So I had been trading personally for myself about 2.5, close to 3 years before I met Coach. And so I was already very familiar with stocks and options, and I was doing swing trading. And so when I joined the group, because my time availability changed, I felt that my trading was changing because I was doing more of the scalping and the real quick plays. So what I ended up doing, that's also one of the reasons why I moved from my Robinhood account over into Webull, because Robinhood was set up very nicely and it's functional and it worked great for swing trades where it's not so critical about getting in and out at the exact penny. It was great for what I was using it for. But when I saw that I was trying to trade options, I guess a quicker trade, I didn't like the mechanics. So I moved over the money into the Webull. And so with that $1,500 account down to about the $1,200 range, I still tried to do the bigger options that I was used to. But I learned very quickly that one option in, say, Apple or Google or any of the big boys was putting me down past that threshold of the 3% for the day. And so, of course, like I said, I wasn't perfect in the beginning. And I still struggled where I was trying to follow the rules. But then I'm thinking to myself, well, how the hell am I supposed to follow these rules? I can't even buy one contract. Well, dumbass, pay attention to the rules. That doesn't mean break the rules. It means figure out how to maintain the rules. So I pulled myself back into the tiny little stocks and traded CCL and American Airlines, Robinhood, eBay, Roku, all these different tiny little stocks. The benefit of trading those small stocks, it was a big movement difference. I was used to seeing the candles dance around hundreds of dollars because I was trading options, and now I'm seeing things move pennies at a time. And so you'll hear some of us say, well, once I got the hang of it, it seems like things kind of slowed down. So for me, I was able to figure out that the way things were kind of trading because everything was so slow compared to what I was trading before. And so I think that was very beneficial for myself. And so, like I said, I was trading these small stocks for months. I was probably doing 8 months of probably 90% of my trades, or maybe even 95% of my trades were on small stock. And I occasionally was doing options in some of those smaller stocks because I could still buy multiples right at the money. I could see the next step, which was the mechanics of the options and getting back into this style of trading.
Thank you. See, Apple's getting a little heavy on the vine again.
Even if these last 2 go back to break even, I'm still up probably $2,000 for the day. So I can let you kind of sit there and fester and see what the hell they're going to do and not really panic because I've already locked in a bunch. And so it's a lot harder if you only had one contract. I know if I only had one contract, there's no way I'd be still sitting in one of them. That's just the way I am. But I had 30 of them and I was able to shave off on the way up, and now I have 2 left. that are still making me money. Now, do I wish I could be at the point where I was holding all 30? Hell yeah. But I know the style of trading I'm doing is building consistency. So in 6 months from now, I might be doing a consistent 60 contracts. And by now I would be holding, say, 10 or 15 of them. I know that that's going to happen eventually if I stay within positions that I'm comfortable with. I don't want to take that next step and play differently. So I have done that throughout the process of the past 2 years where I think I'm ready for the next level. And then I start emotionally trading because mentally I still know that it's a larger amount. So I pull myself back. I did that plenty of times throughout the past 2 years. And then I kind of tuck my tail for a couple of weeks. And then okay, you know what? Let me see if I can feel it again. Let me see if I'm ready for it. And then I go back into the bigger positions. If I can handle it and it seems like it's working, then I stay with that position. But I've done it a few times throughout the past 2 years.
Over on YouTube Live, do you trade into pre-market, David?
In the past 2 years, probably less than 5 times. Because of family requirements, I'm not available in the pre-market. So I spend my time and resources into the open, and I'm usually here with the group for at least the first couple of hours, and then I dedicate my afternoons to helping people in the one-on-ones.
David, it's greatly appreciated you sharing your experiences. Apple is getting a little heavy on the vine, like you said, and approaching some indicators.
One last question for David, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, so but you do enter trades right at the market open, yeah? The ones today you got in probably around the 6:30, 6:35 mark?
Eastern time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got in because in the way that we run the Apple chat, I typically have the levels that we display for the market trading ideas. So I have those levels. And then what I'm looking for at that open is, are we breaking that level? For a beginner, that's what I was doing all the time. I was just looking for the break of the channel. And then immediately when it went in my direction, I would collect money and get the hell out of it. That's all I was doing because I know that the first few minutes is so very volatile. So now here it is 2 years later where I've graduated to the level where I'm holding a lot longer, but I didn't trade the first 30 minutes, or I tried not to trade the first 30 minutes for months. I avoided the first 30 minutes because I had gotten burned so many times in the first 30 minutes within the first couple of months where I forced myself to walk my dog, or I say walk my dogs, but since I had the broken foot, it was hilarious walking the dogs around the block, but that's different. So I would spend my time away from the screen. I still had one earbud in, listening to coach, and I just was not available to trade because I know, since I'm human, if I'm sitting in front of my laptop, I'm trading. That's just the way it is. So I had to physically do something to break that habit. So walking the dogs kept me occupied. Like I said, now the one-on-ones actually help me because I'm a notorious over trader. Like I said, I'll sit in the damn room all day long and trade and trade and trade and trade. And sometimes you just get fatigued. It's mentally stress. It's mentally, I guess, draining because you have to be on top of your game. Imagine football players in the pro level, or imagine, what is it called? Basketball players in the pro level, any type of very top tier. They're zoned in. You see them go on the court, they're zoned in. So I feel that same exact way when I get into the trading section where I'm sitting in front of my laptop. I'm just waiting for my moment to happen. Like the athletes, they're waiting for the buzzer to go off so that they can enter into their game. I'm ready and I'm waiting and I don't know. I get amped up.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Thank you for that, David.
Well, so Apple is sitting right above 244. So if we break the 21 and 244 at the same time, I'm going to shave one more there and I'll leave one runner. So my last runner will be basically to VWAP, and then it's a shelf right there at 243.50 area also. I have a game plan for getting in, and then I have game plans for getting out. And then, of course, today I have a time in the morning, so I'm going to be here for a little bit longer. Everything still looks good. I don't need to panic. I'm still up 68% in these two runners.